Well, we had such great response to our conversation back, I guess it was late August, early September, with the hockey guy, Shannon Skanes, our friend from Abbotsford and of YouTube fame. We wanted to have you back. How you doing, Shannon?
Not bad. Tired from the weekend, but not bad.
Yeah, you're putting in some long shifts these days, watching all these hockey games in the NHL. The season's new. Now, last time we talked to you, though, you were in the midst of like the Herculean preview of every team. How did all that go?
The previews went pretty well. Really, the off season videos. There have been times where the off season videos, I still have some more content to go when the regular season's getting going. But this year, I think I timed it really well. So yeah, it turned out pretty well.
I found the appetite for off-season hockey coverage was very high this year. Don't you think? Did you find the same thing? And that almost it just melted right into the new season.
I think so. I think it's that we had a more normal feeling season than we've had in a little while, and it feels like this year, whether it is or it isn't, it feels like there's at least 8 or 10 teams that could claim to be good enough to win a Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah.
So I think there's more fan bases that feel like, hey, this could be the year than usual.
Well, let's go right into the Canucks then. Do you think the Canuck fan base thinks they're one of those teams?
It's funny. I did a video about, 10 days ago where I was trying to make an argument for how any of the 32 teams could win a Stanley Cup. And I found a way to make an argument for, and then I got to Vancouver and I just started laughing because it's like, it's been over 40 years I've been through this. I mean, there's only so many times you can see the movie Titanic before you realize, the boat's probably going to hit the iceberg. It's just a matter of when. And I'm getting that feeling with the Canucks. And that game in Philly, I had really bad. It's the weird thing with Vancouver. I dread when they have an early lead already.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, no, now they've got an early lead. This is where you start seeing some lazy passes, kind of hot dogging it a little bit. And something's just a little bit off early. I don't know about their Stanley Cup chances, but I'd like to see their playoff chances improve. The thing, too, is it feels like they do that East Coast swing, and that kills their playoff chances more often than not. I want to see that stop. So,
And the multi-goal lead, too. You'd almost like to just have a 1-0 lead after 40, and maybe you can nurse that sucker home with good defensive responsibility. But at 2-0, at 3-0.
We're 2 games into the season, and I've already had at least 4 times during a game where I'll say, "Where was that pass going? What are you doing?" And it's just it's early in the season. Maybe they're not as mentally sharp, but there's some alarm bells there.
Just getting back to the season preview and the offseason interest, did it strike you, Shannon, that Canucks Nation is still waiting on the big move from Rutherford and Alvin? Or do you think, like Kuzmenko and them, that satisfied the appetite? No, you're still waiting on the big move?
There was a lot of people who were kind of mad when the JT Miller contract got signed because they had kind of fantasy drafted their way to, okay, here's my trade, here's what I think we could get, and then Miller signs, and it's like all of that stopped. So now I'm already seeing that with Horvat. Now it's okay, what can we get for Horvat? Because I'm already seeing people say, oh, they have to trade Horvat. I don't necessarily agree, but I think fans just want it to be different than it was under Benning, and with the salary cap and so many teams that are right up against it, Alvin, I think, is finding out just how tough it is to shed money.
Well, I think we found out, or been reminded, rather, that the roller coaster is a rigorous one here in Vancouver. 2 games in, we've already been on a couple of sidewinders and loop-de-loops. And that was, I think what you're talking about with Horvat was certainly the case after game 1. Boy, after game 2 and JT Miller being on the ice now for all 8 Canuck goals against, and the fact that he knew it, in the post-game dressing room, I mean, I think all eyes are on Miller right now, aren't they? I think Horvat gets a pass for now.
I think with that long-term extension, it means that if Miller has a rough year, the nightmare scenario, obviously, I would think for the Canucks would be that they do fall short and Miller has a rough year when they've already signed him for 7 more. That's why I understand why GMs do this, but when they sign them that far out, there's a huge risk to that. And with that many years tacked on, it's a very risky proposition. So I don't know how you would fix it if they start really falling out of the playoffs. It has to be dollar out and dollar in. and it's not going to end up being a hockey trade. I miss hockey trades. I miss hockey trades quite a bit. You need a forward, I need a defenseman, and we make a trade. And those trades just don't seem to happen anymore.
Too many considerations.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, and of course, they especially don't happen these days with the flat cap, and of course, everybody, including NHL revenue, recovering from the pandemic. Shannon, you're out in Abbotsford. They got their season going this week down in Ontario. They lost to the Reign 8-2, came back on an overtime win in Bakersfield. They still got a couple more games down south before they get back for the home opener on Friday, October 28th. But you're a season ticket holder out there. We were just talking before we started recording here that almost feels like last year was a dress rehearsal, huh? With everything that went on, and that this is the full first year for that team in that community.
I think they'll do well in terms of attendance. I don't have a feeling that they're going to be a contending team on the ice with the roster they currently have. I'm hoping that either DiPietro gets his game together and we see him start to make that ascension again, or that Silovs is able to do some of what we saw of him in Abbotsford. He was very good at certain points, but if you looked at the overall stats, they weren't great with Abby. Guys like Jet Wu, I'm anxious to see how he does. They've got Kalanick down here too. And I love Sheldon Dries. He's got he's a very intense player. I really think it's his size that kept him out of the NHL. Because if you looked at, especially like last year's Abbotsford team, it felt like they were always shorter than the other teams that came in. And I started to understand why some of these guys that were well known relatively in terms of being NHL, almost NHL players, that their size probably held a lot of them back.
Of course, Dries has already been called up and sent back down.
Dries
and now there's a need for.
And they sent. So he got sent down yesterday though, and they called up.
Yes.
So did they just reverse it?
Yeah.
It's one of those years again where there's just for cap reasons they're going to be calling guys up and sending guys down.
Yeah.
So that's
you
fun.
anxious to see Danila Klimovich this year?
Yeah, he started off well last year and faded a bit, but that's not really all that unusual with players when they come over to North America and they have to get used to the grind. So, he looked decent in what I saw of him in the Canucks training and preseason. So, hopefully he's able to take that next step. Certainly with the roster they have, he'll get every opportunity.
Well, I'm looking forward to get out there this year. No more 50% restrictions or anything like that, and of course, a chance to track some of these Canucks prospects, including Danila Klimovich.
Yeah, it's a good building. It's a good place to watch a game. I always enjoy watching the games there when I'm able to get out there, but because for me, if there's more than 4 games on in the NHL, then I have to stay home and watch games, so I don't get out to as many as I'd like to.
You're looking resplendent in the All Blacks, by the way, and the Lions were in their All Blacks. Should all the Vancouver teams just go back to the black uniforms? Is that what we're seeing here? Are you preferable to that one versus?
I think the skate will stay as a third. I think probably for good. I don't think they end up going away from the Orca because it's such a Vancouver brand, the whole Orca. But I think the black skate sticks around. I think it's for nostalgic reasons as much as anything else, because the design itself, I remember it being roasted in the 80s, that it was always referred to as a bowl of spaghetti and why is the skate going downhill, and there was a lot of comments made, but
love the color scheme.
I do too.
When we get out to Abbey, we'll be sure to pick a game that you can attend as well. We got to meet face to face next, take some photos.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for the time. Thanks for the time,
No
Shannon.
problem.
Be well.
You too.